24-year-old Massachusetts school teacher Lisa Ziegert is found raped and stabbed to death just 4 days after she was abducted. But who took Lisa and killed her has left the small New England town of Agawam shaken to its core.
It was the crime of the decade. Women being fearful, getting pistol permits, and because no one knew exactly what happened.
Cops on the case chased down every lead.
A lot, hundreds of interviews.
Then investigators get a lucky break when they're able to extract the killer's DNA from the crime scene.
We had the proverbial bloody fingerprint in this case, and we just needed to get that match.
The crux of the case is attaching an identity, that DNA, and we likely had an offender.
But detectives and even Lisa's own family take special note of the curious place where Lisa's body was discovered.
A rural area, no houses or anything like that around.
It's not a visible turnoff from the main road. In fact, it's a spot that someone would have to know in order to get there.
Always thought it was somebody who's very familiar with the area, just based on where she was found.
It doesn't take long for the small town rumor mill to start spinning. And as the months pass, the talk on the streets turns into a full-fledged accusation. The finger pointing is squarely at one man.
Ed Brigatti was a friend of my sister's.
Friend or fatal foe? Ed attended high school with Lisa and even lived with Lisa's sister and boyfriend at the time she was murdered. Coincidence? Not according to the court of public opinion.
They decided for some reason that he was the person.
And there's something else. Not only were some residents claiming Ed killed Lisa, but that police were covering it up.
Because Ed's dad was a member of the police department.
But there's one huge problem with this theory. Ed has a rock-solid alibi.
I was working the restaurant that night.
In a Crime Watch Daily exclusive, Ed speaks out publicly for the first time since Lisa's murder.
I was working between my office and down on the floor, and my sister was there waitressing, so I was with my family and my friends that night, and there were plenty of witnesses to verify that.
And according to police, Ed's DNA does not match the sample taken at the crime scene.
It was never anything to hide.
Ed is one of my dearest friends. Ed had nothing to do with it.
Ed is immediately cleared by police, but without a suspect in custody, the vicious rumors keep swirling.
They wouldn't let it go.
My thought on the whole thing was just move ahead, just keep moving forward, and not worry about what people think, and you just know it's not true, and you just continue to just live your life.
And police continue with their investigation.
We just kept on getting samples from everyone that we could, and we just always hoped that at some point we would get a DNA hit.
But they don't get a hit. In fact, months, years, and even decades go by, 23 years to be exact, and there's still no DNA match.
When it first happens, I think everyone thinks, they watch the TV shows and, CSI and things like that, and in an hour, everything's going to get wrapped up. The person's going to be arrested, and everybody's going to know what happened. And as time goes on, you begin to understand how reality doesn't match that.
The case appears to be cold and on the fast track to frozen. The new DA, Anthony Gallooni, remembers the case. He was a young boy growing up in the area when the news first broke of Lisa's abduction and murder.
I was in my adolescence at the time. It's something that resonated and stuck with you and in some ways haunted the town of Agawam and the people who experienced it. This case means the world to a lot of people who developed a commitment to Lisa and developed a commitment to Lisa's family to tell them that we had the person who's responsible for their dear daughter's death.
Then just months into his administration, DA Gallooni gets wind of cutting-edge technology known as phenotyping. It's a process that takes a DNA sample and turns it into a digital composite sketch.
Today, I am releasing the snapshot composite sketches as developed by Parabon to the public. This forensic testing has predicted that Lisa's assailant has fair to very fair complexion with some freckling, hazel or brown eyes, and brown or black hair.
The Ziegert family is front and center for the unveiling.
We're so hopeful that this is going to bring for Lisa the justice that she so richly deserves.
I thought, this is our chance. This is our biggest chance in probably 20 years to find the person who had killed her.
And when they look at the sketch of the man who apparently took Lisa's life,
it was very difficult when I first saw it, trying to think, do I know that person? Did I go to high school with them? You know, were we friends?
so cops have the killer's DNA and a composite of his face. Now they just need a name.
What's the face of a killer? It's hard to say, but his face is one.
We ended up looking back at persons who had been identified for one reason or another, and then sort of cross-referencing that with people who had refused to give their DNA voluntarily.
Then prosecutors make an unprecedented move.
We went through a legal process that was devised by our team, led by myself and Captain Chris Wilcox. And through that legal process, we were attempting to compel a certain identified small list of individuals to provide their DNA.
Massachusetts State Police visit a handful of homes serving search warrants to collect DNA samples. One person on the list has been on their radar since the investigation began, but refused to give his DNA at the time. And when troopers knock on his door, the man is not home, but his roommate passes on the information,
with essentially a message that state troopers are looking for you.
Coming up,
we felt this was our guy.
Hand wrote a series of notes that amounted to his confession.
Finally, a colossal crack in the case.
It was 25 years of wonder and worry and anxiety and hope all coming to a head.
But now their number one suspect is on the run.
It was all hands on deck to get his location.
The composite narrows down their suspects, but when troopers attempt to collect DNA from their remaining persons of interest, one man appears to skip town.